Today, we're talking about things we don't want to talk about.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Burnt on Religion, the podcast for those who have been burnt, who are currently burning, and for those who are trying to avoid being burnt. I'm Ashton. I'm like the light rain coming down from the heavens, and because it's raining, my flower garden has bloomed rusty. Wow. On top of that, I also have pesky weeds in my yard, aka Josh, that just keep coming back.
You need me and you know it.
That's true.
Yeah, like a dandelion.
Yeah, you step on me 1,000 times and I'm still coming back.
Coming back with vengeance.
That's right. So I'm a weed now, huh?
Everywhere.
At least I'm not a beautiful flower garden.
That's the first time I've ever been described as a beautiful
Hey,
flower.
last week that I was called a princess or something like that?
Yeah.
Twinkle toes, yeah. So, it's good to be back in the ogre weed category. That beautiful flower garden thing doesn't feel so good, does it?
No, I'd prefer the ogre.
Yeah.
Okay.
Way to go there, Ashton. Yeah.
Excuse me.
You just can't get it right, can you?
I guess not. No pleasing you.
Oh no, I'm pleased. A weed's fine.
Okay.
I'll take a weed. Yeah, why not? Someday somebody's got to introduce this guy as something other than "Hi, I'm Ashton." It's so simple. Hi, I'm Ashton.
Hey, y'all.
Yeah.
I got nothing.
Yeah. Hey guys, as you already know, the topic that we're talking about, because you've already clicked on it, you saw the title of this topic and you know what we're discussing today, and this is not a good one. As we said, we're talking about things we don't want to talk about. We just don't want to talk about this. The problem is there's a lot of videos going around right now about a specific verse in the Bible. And these people are saying, I don't want anything to do with that, God, because of this verse in the Bible. And that's why this topic has to be discussed. It's not because we want to talk about this, because I'm telling you, this topic makes me mad.
Yeah.
I have a hard time. The thoughts in my head are not very Jesus-y on this topic.
Agreed.
Sir.
Yes.
You need to pray.
I've been praying about this for years.
It is a tough one. It is a very tough one.
Yeah, this is not a good topic. And of course, the topic that we're talking about is rape. And the question is, does God condone rape? And the answer is, without wasting any time, no, he does not. And we said it. There's the answer. God does not condone rape. The problem is we do have a verse that is problematic on this topic. And that's a rough one. It's a rough one. And to all of you people out there that have been through this, I'm so sorry. I wish this wasn't even a topic. I wish this event didn't happen. But if you have been hurt through this action, there is still God that loves you. You are still valuable. You have infinite value. There's no reason for you to carry that guilt or that shame. Even if you're in a situation where you feel like you may have brought this upon yourself because of your actions and yet it happened to you, don't live under that guilt and that shame. And you might have seen this verse in Deuteronomy that we're going to talk about today, and you wonder, hey, if God condones rape, maybe I don't want anything to do with that, God. And what we're trying to do is help you see this in context. And it's a tough one, even with the context. It's still a hard one because we're looking at it through the lens of the action that happened and how wrong that is, and there's no time that is ever right. So even the verses that we're going to show you today, we can't say, see, rape's okay because of these verses. No, rape is still never okay. Even with these verses, rape is never okay. So this is going to be a bumpy one, guys.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to talk about it. So you guys take it from here, guys.
Rusty, you got this.
Yeah, you got this, man.
There's going to be a lot of dead air time. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, we don't want to talk.
Yeah.
So you've tuned into an episode we don't even want to talk about.
Yeah.
But we really do need to talk about this because there are people that are hurting, and that pain does not stop because the action is over. It actually carries into the scriptures because people look at these verses and say, well, it looks like God has compassion on the guy that did it, and that just seems wrong. God is not condoning rape. But before we get into that topic, we need to clear up one other thing. Galatians 3:19 says, "What purpose then does the law serve?" So you've got the Old, and we've been hitting on this a few times here. The law has a context. The Old Testament has a context. The New Testament has a context. It's a different context. Same God, same character, all the way through. But the context of the law is this. Galatians 3:19 says, "What purpose does the law serve? It was added because of transgressions." The law was added to expose sin, is what it was for. It doesn't heal the sinner. It doesn't heal the victim. It exposes sin. It exposes our need for a Savior. Remember, nobody can be justified by the law. The law can't justify anybody. So if you're trying to live a life that's good enough to get to heaven, you're never going to make it that way. Because the law of good versus evil, good and bad deeds, all of that stuff will never justify you. You need Jesus Christ. So the whole Old Testament covenant under the law was to expose sin. It was never to heal it or bring an answer to it. It just revealed the problem. That's what's in our verses that we're talking about on this topic of rape are in that context. So we have to understand that going in, even in the New Testament, it says the purpose of the law was because of the transgression, because of sin. The purpose of grace is for salvation. That's what we have today, which takes away the sins of the world. So Jesus is the one that actually brings the solution to the sin problem. The law diagnoses the sin problem. So what we have in the law is a way to regulate sin, not remove it. Does that make sense? Is that a good way to say that?
Yeah.
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 Because sin can't be removed under the law.
Right.
No.
Right. Because, even when they did the sacrifices, it was just a
Band-Aid.
a blanket.
Right, it's just something showing that you need your sin taken care of.
Yeah.
But it doesn't remove your sin, it doesn't take care of it. So if we look at it through the lens of the law is there to regulate sin, not bring an end to it. Jesus was to bring an end to it. That's the New Testament. Old Testament is to regulate sin. That means sin is happening. Mm-hmm. And you're just trying to regulate it so everybody doesn't destroy themselves. And it just continues to escalate. There's laws there to I guess, diminish the damage that sin can cause. So if I'm driving down the road at, 120 miles an hour, that speed limit there isn't there to tell me don't drive fast. It's saying you can drive fast, go ahead. But there's a consequence.
Yeah.
This sign here says there's a consequence if you do. It doesn't bring the end to my speeding. But it could remind me, hey, there's a consequence if I do this.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take away the problem. It regulates the problem.
A deterrent.
Right. It's a deterrent, but it's not the solution. Right. So with that, saying that right there, hopefully that'll help put the Old Testament, New Testament in context. In the New Testament, I've got a situation where I'm not under the law. I'm not under regulations. I'm freed from sin. Whom the Son sets free is free indeed. I don't even have to worry about that. I just live out of my love and gratitude for what Jesus did for me. And I live out of that love, which means I'm not committing all those sins. Yeah. You can't live out of love and say, God, look how much I love you today, and look at all the sins I'm committing. That's no way to express love and gratitude. So we focus on Christ instead of law. But back then, they only had law, regulations, deterrents, stuff like that. But the sin issue still existed. And that's why the law is there. Hopefully that's a decent explanation of the context, because we're going to get into this stuff. And no, it doesn't sound good. And we have to admit it. Yeah. We are not saying rape is good at all. No. All three of us at this table hate the topic so much. But just because you hate a topic doesn't mean you shouldn't address it. So we're going to address it. So we're going to stir the pot a little bit just by bringing up that verse. Let's dive right in, guys. This is where you guys do the talking. I don't want to do the talking. Let me just read the verse, and then let's talk about how this thing is, how this thing can be interpret it. Let's discuss that, okay?
Yeah.
So Deuteronomy 22:28. If a man finds a young woman who is a virgin, who is not betrothed, and he seizes her and lies with her, and they are found out, then the man who lay with her shall give to the young woman's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife because he has humbled her. He shall not be permitted to divorce her all his days. What say you, guys, on that verse? Because that's the verse right there that people look at and say, that's a law that God put out there? Psh, I don't want anything to do with God. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah. Just spinning that around in your head, mulling yeah.
So the guy did rape her.
Yeah.
And we can see that.
Sure. I mean, looking at it, it almost is like it's okay if you pay your dad off.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. He can't come after your brothers can't come after you and kill you for whatever. If you pay him off, all's good.
Right.
Then you're absolved. No consequence. No whatever. Just a little bit of money.
Right. It sounds like he's getting away, and he gets the girl.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's just wrong.
Benefiting from a transgression, against someone
Right.
else. Yeah.
And so, I mean, I can read it a different way because I know the context of this. And it makes you mad.
It makes you mad.
I can read it in the light of what it's talking about because I've looked at this. But when I first had this
Sure.
brought up to me, I'm like, God, I'm a little mad at you too. Right. This guy is. So he does this. And in the end, he gets the girl. He's just out 50 shekels.
Yeah. The bad guy just rid off in the sunset.
Right.
Yeah.
With the girl that doesn't want him at all.
With the victim.
Right.
Yeah.
That is not a good story.
No.
That's not a good way to end a story. And so I can right away we already see the problem. There's no hiding it. No. And we can see how this passage is really kind of offensive.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But just because it's offensive doesn't mean God's endorsing evil. Okay, so
That's true.
We have to look at the character of God in everything we read about what God says and what God does. It means the Bible's describing a real human brutality. That's what it's describing here. And it does so in a world where people did unspeakable things and where sin is running rampant. And there has to be a regulation. God is holy, rape is sin. And there's nowhere in the Bible where we can say anything other than that. God is holy, rape is sin. And those are non-negotiables.
Yeah.
God is always holy, rape is always wrong. Okay? There's no time that you can say the opposite of either side of that.
Yeah.
It's just that way. The Bible consistently treats sexual sins as serious rebellion to God all the way through the Bible. Even in the New Testament, it does talk like that. And people often think if the Bible records it, then it must approve it. And that's not true.
No, that's not true.
That's not true. Sometimes it's recording hostility or it's recording an action that was wrong. It doesn't mean the Bible's condoning that action.
Yeah.
So the Bible records what people were doing, and God's people were wrongfully tolerating without endorsing it. That's just because they're tolerating it doesn't mean the Bible's endorsing it.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's we're trying to clear this up as we go here, but the hard passages need to be read in context too. It's not just you take these one verses and you build a sermon or you build a belief on it, and that's why our podcast still is thriving.
Yeah.
That's why this thing still goes, is because people take scriptures and they look at it and go, okay, now I'm mad, or now I'm offended with God, or I see God as this or that or the other thing because of this one verse. You've got to look at the context of the passage.
Sure.
So you got to ask, what is being described here? Don't just take this one verse. Say, what is being described here? Is it a law? Is it a narrative description? Is that what we've got here? Is it a moral instruction? What's the context of what we're reading? We've got to look at it through the lens of the context. So, does the text treat the wrong as wrong? Or does it give an option that assumes something else? We've got to ask that question. Is it wrong? Did that verse right there treat the wrong as wrong in any way? Did and we can read it again, but did it treat the wrong as wrong?
I would say no.
You would say it didn't treat the wrong as wrong?
No. Because to me, if I'm just reading the verse, if the guy comes over, rapes this woman, and like Rusty said, pays the dad off,
Okay.
it's almost like, oh, here's some money. Turn a blind eye to what I just did.
Right.
To me, that's not. I mean, it doesn't resolve anything besides I now have your daughter.
Okay.
So therefore, I still did a bad thing.
Okay, so, and that's a good thing. It doesn't resolve anything, but we got to remember the law is not a cure.
Yeah,
It's a
that's true.
diagnosis.
Yeah.
So we got to, and again, that thought right there is exactly how we look at Old
Yes.
Testament scriptures today is, hold on, I don't see justice in this.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, through the lens of what we look at it today, no, that guy should be, well, everything that goes through my mind about this, it's not pleasant.
Drawn and quartered.
Yes, exactly. Whatever has mankind has ever thought about
Sure.
in a torturous way, apply it to that guy's life.
Yep.
And it's wrong to think that way, but hey, justice. We're looking for justice
Justice,
here.
yes.
So it's that, but where's the resolution? Remember, sin doesn't have its own resolution, and the law cannot bring a resolution. It can just point us to a resolution, which is Jesus. So again, the question is wrong being treated as wrong, not resolved? Okay, there's a difference there. But I'm glad you brought that up because those are the slight definitions that get us off track. You know, and believe me, I looked at the verse the same way. I'm like, oh, no, nope. I want justice for this girl who doesn't even live now because this is Old Testament. I want justice for her. And him marrying her, I don't see that as justice. So if it was wrong being treated as right, do you think the verse would be read a different way? Or do you, are there consequences? If it's wrong, there's consequences. If it's right, there's no consequences. Sometimes there's even blessing.
Well, I mean, if you read it, yes, it does acknowledge a wrong. I mean, and this is me taking, and I'm removing how the whole subject matter makes me feel.
You've got to.
Yeah.
You have no if you're going to talk about it, you've got to.
I'm not saying that's easy. I'm just saying that's,
Right.
and putting all that aside, it's acknowledging the fact that there was a wrong here.
Yes.
That what happened wasn't right. And even though to me it looks meager, there's a consequence for a wrong. I guess maybe I'm not explaining that right, but it's like you're seeing.
There is a consequence.
Yeah, there is a consequence.
The guy's out 50 shekels.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's to me the whole thought's meager, but
it's not to the degree we want to see.
Yeah,
I think all three of us at this table would say
it's not the level of justice you're wanting to see out of this whole thing.
Right. It is not, but there is a consequence. So wrong is being treated as wrong, even though
it's being addressed.
We would like it to be a lot more painful.
The throttle will be a little wider open on that one.
Right. Yeah. So, okay, but there is a greater consequence than just you're out 50 shekels. Okay. Sure. That there is that too. And we'll talk about that. But so many times people have problems with passages where God is regulating extreme human wrongdoings, and God's regulating it. No, we want it. We want justice. We want it put to an end. But the law didn't put wrongdoing to an end. It diagnosed sin. That's what it did, and we've got to see the law is given for the transgression, but He is protecting people in a legal framework. He's describing the consequences that were in an ancient system, and the ancient system being the law. Okay, not Christ, not the one who came to take away sins of the world, but the law which diagnosed the sins of the world, and He's regulating in this time. Regulation is not approval. And we talked about this before. The topic just slipped my mind. Slavery. Yeah. When we talked about slavery. Yeah. Just because you're regulating it doesn't mean you approve of it, but it's in a system. Mm-hmm. It is in a system where it is you're dealing with the transgression, not the removal of the transgression. Mm-hmm. You're performing regulation within that. A courtroom law isn't God saying, it's fine,
Yeah.
because of courtroom law. It's God restraining evil in a fallen world, not putting an end to it, but restraining it, because this stuff is clearly happening.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
is.
yeah.
It is happening. So how can we apply this to today? Because we're not in the old covenant
Sure.
time. We're not under the law. So to these people that are listening to this episode right now, hopefully hating it at least as much as we are. This is the one episode where I'm like, I hope you're hating this, but it is going somewhere, and we're hoping to give some kind of a sense of comfort and peace to people through this topic, as far as the character of God, not the action itself of rape. But how do we apply it to today? There is this whole idea of this guy. By the way, let's talk about the what's happening to this guy. He's not only paying 50 shekels of silver, or 50, I think that's what it was, 50 shekels of silver.
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So he's not only paying that, he's also taken on the responsibility of her husband. Okay. That doesn't mean he gets all the perks. That means he gets the financial obligation of being her provider.
Yes.
Because nobody else is taking her at this point.
Yeah.
Remember, this is an ancient mindset. This is ancient culture.
Yeah, that's damaged goods, and nobody else is going to touch this.
Exactly. And that's how, and by the way, that is not that is not the case. Absolutely. That is not reality. You are not damaged goods, and you are not disposable because something like this happened. But that is how they saw it back then. And don't ever take that on yourself.
Absolutely not.
Don't ever see yourself that way. You have infinite value. So don't ever take that. That is what society places on people, not what God places on people. You have infinite value. Take that thought captive, like the Bible says to do, and run it through Scripture, run it through Christ. You have value. So it's not that, but that's how the culture would see it.
Yes.
So this girl, she's now disposable.
Yeah.
So because he decided to force himself on her, he now gets to have the financial obligation. By the way, he has to pay the dowry, which is that 50 shekels of silver.
Yes.
But now, for the rest of her life, he gets to take care of her, and it ends with, and you don't get to divorce her.
No.
You don't get out of this. This is a life sentence.
Yeah.
This is what you get. So the consequence is actually more than just, you're out $50.
Yeah.
Okay, or whatever that equivalent is back then. So if you're going to commit this crime, that is the time. It's the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So you better be ready to take on that obligation, because she needs to be taken care of. So this is actually protection for the girl.
Yeah. And I mean, and we're looking at this through our time period, our culture's
Right.
eyes. And I mean, if you're not knowing or having any background on the culture, the times, all those things, yeah, once again, you plug it in, you look at this, and you're going, oh wow, that's a drop in a bucket that doesn't even begin to come,
Right.
you know.
Right. So let's read a couple of verses about the law, and then let's try to apply it to a scenario. Think about a scenario that helps us understand this in today's vernacular versus the old, because we're not in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
We're today, and this is the day that people are listening, not back then. So
Yeah,
we need to
absolutely.
bring an understanding
Yeah,
to that.
exactly,
So let's go ahead and read a couple of verses on what the law is here. Romans 13:3. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil. Do you want to be unafraid of the authority? Do what is good, and you will have praise from the same. For he is the minister. For he is God's minister to you for good. But if you do evil, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is God's minister, an avenger to execute wrath on him who practices evil. This is talking about law enforcement. This is talking about your judges and stuff. That is actually a minister where God is using the law, the legal system. He's using that as a ministry, not a terror on good works, but to evil. A law is to regulate evil. Okay? Not to bring wrath on him or an avenger to execute wrath on him who practices evil. he's a minister of God. Even that's the law, not necessarily the individual, but he has the job of doing this. It's to restrain evil. Okay, we understand that as the law today. We understand that. Punishment addresses wrongdoing. And then we have in 1 Timothy 1:8 says, "But we know that the law is good if one uses it lawfully. Knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous person, but for the lawless and insubordinate, for the ungodly and for sinners, for the unholy and profane, for murderers of fathers and murderers of mothers, for manslayers, for fornicators, for sodomites, for kidnappers, for liars, for perjurers, and if there is any other thing that is contrary to sound doctrine." So we do see that the law is for those purposes. It's not made for the righteous, but for the lawless and insubordinate. So we understand that today too. You know, you're not going to get arrested because you helped the little old lady across the street. It's most likely not going to happen. Okay? You gave somebody a couple bucks to help them be a blessing today, they're not taking you to prison. But if you take somebody else's couple bucks,
then you're going to.
then you've got unlawfulness and insubordination. Okay? So, and God hates oppression, and that's all the way through the Bible. Okay? But how do we apply this to today? I've given you a couple seconds.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome. But this scenario in the Old Testament, how can we make it applicable for today? And sorry about the pressure. I'm just going to throw it on you. And
Pressure.
Yeah. So go. Yeah, go.
Well, I mean, it's of course off the top of my head. You know, we were talking about he's still taking care of her, and you know he can't be divorced, and which. You know, I agree to that because, you know, you have to have responsibility for your actions. And
She needs to be provided for somehow.
Yeah. And I guess the only thing off the top of my head that comes close to this is, you know, child support. If you're, you know, not married and wanting to sleep around and have kids and whatever, with especially multiple people, but even with one, and, you know, you want to be that guy and to say bye. And
yeah, she's left pregnant.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, I don't want that baggage, so I'm going to leave.
So, like, that to me is something that just off the top of my head that does happen today. And, you know, there's still, you know, conversations and whether you're for or against it or, you know, however the justice system hands down, you know, how much you want to pay or need to pay and stuff like that. I mean, is it 100% perfect? I don't think so, but you know, at the same time, you know, fair is fair. Like I can't even imagine. You know, we all have kids here, have had kids. And, I mean, even just me before having the kids, being single and stuff, and how my life is now with the kids, I can't even imagine being without them.
Right. Yeah.
And you know I was raised a little different, but you know, you own your mistakes and you know, you have to be responsible and stuff. But but at the same time, like, yeah, if you're going to be that individual and think you can just do whatever and then peace out,
no consequence.
I mean, that's her life and the kid's life.
I think child support is a good way to look at this because basically that's what this guy's got.
Yeah.
You went ahead and raped this girl, and now you've got to take care of her financially because you are responsible for your own actions. It's the exact same as child support, except for the relationship's different.
Well, I mean, equating it to like spousal support, your maintenance, alimony. You know, and I know that gets awarded to spouses, you know, spouses when they split. And it's literally to be able to maintain a lifestyle so this person doesn't end up destitute.
Yes.
Because they do not have the, you know, like say, you know, I'll just use myself as an example. Me and my wife would split up, and I made so much of the household, you know, income. Well, if she didn't work, stay-at-home mother, all that other stuff, and doesn't have the ability to take over, okay, guess what? Here, this obligation to this family, you know, boom, you know, since you're 70% of it, you're still going to supply so much of it. to be able to maintain the lifestyle of these people.
And that doesn't mean that you have this perfect marriage.
No,
That doesn't mean that
absolutely
you
not.
have to live even under the same roof.
Yeah.
But you still have to do the financial responsibility of taking care of them. In this scenario, this guy, it doesn't say you have to live under the same household. It doesn't say that you get any perks. It doesn't say that you get the blessing at all.
No.
You just, sorry, you can't leave her. It's your responsibility.
You have to take care of her now.
Right.
Yeah.
So does God condone rape? Well, it sounds like he's getting, this guy's getting off pretty easy. Well, unless you ask that guy. He's like, man, but I had my eyes on a different girl. Tough.
Tough. Not anymore, you don't.
Yeah. Yeah. It's over for you. But we can't just leave it at that, because the truth is God feels the same way we do about this, and justice has to be there. That verse is there for the provision of the girl.
Yeah.
But let's go to another verse in that same chapter, Deuteronomy 22. This is the goody part. And we mean that in the best way, right? Do we?
No.
Oh, okay. Ashton speaks. Ashton speaks. Yeah, he has. I have spoken. That sounds very intimidating. I have spoken. All right, well, let's let God do it then. Deuteronomy 22, verse 25. But if a man finds a betrothed young woman in the countryside, and the man forces her and lies with her, then only the man who lay with her shall die. Okay, that's what we're looking for, right? He shall die. But you shall do nothing to the young woman. There is in the young woman no sin deserving of death. For just as when a man rises against his neighbor and kills him, even so is this matter. For he found her in the countryside and betrothed the young woman, and the betrothed young woman cried out, but there was no one to save her. So what are his consequences? Death. Now that sounds more fitting. Okay, well, I don't think any of us are sitting here thinking, no, that's too harsh. He's still getting off easy. Even though it's death, I don't know. In my mind,
Yeah.
and I'm not a mean person or whatever, but I'm thinking maybe it could have been a slow one. That's.
It doesn't specify if it has to be slow or.
Say how.
It does not. But and the truth, I don't want human suffering either, even for somebody like this. But this topic really, really fires me up. I do not like this topic. So this woman, the scenario is a little different here. This woman is attacked. She cries out, but there's no one around to help her. She's crying out. The man is then put to death. Okay? The punishment's on the man, not the woman, not the victim. The victim doesn't have to pay for anything here. Okay? God categorized this sin as it is sin and it is punishable. Okay, but what's going on here? So we have two categories listed here. We have two different scenarios. This woman is married to that guy, and this one, doesn't have to be because, that guy's dead. Everything's
It's a little bit of a challenge.
Yes, right. So we have two categories: betrothal and violence. Okay, and that's one here, and both are covered in this passage: betrothal and violence. This woman is engaged; she belongs to another man.
Yeah.
There is violence here. If the woman that is raped is married or engaged, the penalty is death. Mm-hmm. Well, hold on. Again, that's not sounding fair here. Are you married? Yeah. Well, then I'll pick somebody else because that would lead to death. Okay, so if the rape is violent, the penalty is death. Okay, now let's go to the next few verses. These are the verses we've talked about, and this is where everything shifts. Okay, the wording shifts in this passage for the legal flow to be explained. Remember, we're dealing with law here, okay? Mm-hmm. So verse 28, we're going to read this again. If a man finds a young woman who is a virgin, who is not betrothed, and he seizes her and lies with her, and they are found out, then the man who lay with her shall give the young woman's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife because he has humbled her. He shall not be permitted to divorce her all his days. So these are right after each other, okay? These are the two scenarios. And some people see this as God allowing rape, all right? The first one, he does not allow it. The guy's dead. The second one, they see, he's allowing rape. but we have to read it alongside the law that we just read in the two previous verses too. We've got to read it all together. These two verses describe a different scenario. We can't just take the one and say, look how unmerciful God is. If you would have just backed up, you'd like, hey, that's the God we're looking for. The one with the ultimate, execution. That's what we wanted to see. A man has sex with a woman, and the issue is related to her not being promised, married, or engaged, okay? We're dealing with a different kind of category here. This woman has no husband. Okay, she has no husband. There's no evidence mentioned in this case, even though it's still wrong and it's still a sin. There's no mention of violence in this one. In the second one, or in the first one, we saw, hey, this woman's crying out for help. There's violence in this one.
Sure.
And there's nobody to hear her. Okay, the second one, there's no violence mentioned. It's still wrong. It is still absolutely wrong. No struggle. No beating, yet no consent. Okay, it's still no consent. He still takes advantage of her. She may possibly just cooperate out of fear. That does happen too, where there's no violence here, but it's still the action is still wrong. It's still just as wrong. So the penalty is that he must provide for her for the remainder of his life without even having the ability to divorce her. He can't divorce her. Okay, so this is where there's two different scenarios here. One, this girl over here, she's still taken care of by her husband. She still has, she's already engaged. She's moving, and by the way, betrothal and engagement locked in as marriage.
Yeah.
We know that because in the New Testament, when the angel tells Mary that she's pregnant with Jesus, Mary tells Joseph she's pregnant with Jesus, and Joseph is looking to divorce her, even though they're just betrothed. They're not even married yet. But it's just the same. It still needs a bill of divorcement, certificate of divorce,
Sure.
Because it's that you are already, I don't want to say claimed or belong to.
You're off the market.
That's right. You are not eligible
Not
at
at
all.
all.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're taken care of for the rest of your life there. So you have a scenario here where this girl is not taken care of for the rest of her life, and society's going to look down on her because, just damaged goods, as you said earlier, which is still wrong.
Well, look at these two scenarios. In today's, corporal punishment type thing, you're seeing a life sentence versus a death sentence.
Okay, yes,
Yeah.
sure.
That just kind of me. Okay, this guy, he's having to take care of her for life.
Right.
And then the other one, nope, dead.
Right. Because she's already taken care of by her husband.
Yeah, and in some instances, even in today's society, you have life sentences for heinous crimes. You have death sentences for heinous crimes.
Right. Yeah, and remember, this is legal vernacular.
Yes.
We're in the Old Testament here. God is not condoning rape. He's providing in a situation. He's regulating sin, not ending sin. And this is one of the hardest things for people to understand because we live in an age of grace. We live in an age where Jesus takes away the sins of the world. He's not covering your sins. He's taking them away. As far as east is from west, so remember your sins and iniquities no more, to the depths of the sea. The Bible just says it in many ways. Your sin is finished. It is taken care of because of what Jesus did on the cross. As a child of God, it is taken care of. But we look at the Old Testament and we say, well, I've got problems with this. Well, you're reading somebody else's mail. That's what's going on.
That's the time of the blood of bulls and goats.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the New Testament is the blood of the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world.
Yeah.
It's a different thing altogether. It's a different system. So we look at this and it's like, well, God's not merciful because of what he did. Well, when you look at the context of what's happening, there is mercy there. Where God, I think the guy, like today, if this situation happens and that guy got the death penalty, in our culture, you don't look at the person as damaged goods.
No.
You know, in our culture, it's not seen like that in most cases. And if it ever is, shame on the person that's viewing you that way, because you are not damaged goods. You are not a second-class citizen of any kind. You are still valuable. But our culture sees it different. But in their culture, it was strict. You know, this is just how things were. So God is providing for this person that's not engaged. She's not married. She has no protection of any kind. She's on her own, and people may not want her. You know, they may not want her. And this guy, like, hey, your life sentence is to take care of her. Doesn't mean you don't get to live in the shed.
You're just going to provide for her regardless.
Right.
Yeah.
Even if you have to go without, she does not.
She does not.
And you don't get to divorce her. So if you want to do that crime, that's the time you've got to do. The other scenario is this woman who is taken care of. She is married. She's crying out for help. There's violence involved. She's crying out for help. Nobody's there to hear her. And she says, I'm engaged, but this guy did this to me. Well, I'm not going to make you marry her since she's technically already married. She's already provided for. Everything looks good for her. She's already taken care of. So, yeah, you're done.
Husband, take him out.
Right, yeah. Yeah, well, I'll turn the other way and you take care of him.
Yeah.
Right. So these are laws to regulate transgression. It is not, it's a diagnosis and a management system. It is not to take away or heal. The law never did that. It could not take away sin. It could not heal. It didn't bring healing to anybody, not to the sinner, not to the victim. It didn't bring healing. It brought regulation. And that's what the law does. It doesn't give us anything as far as salvation or a remedy. That's Jesus. That's who brings that answer to us. So this law was in place to restrain evil and protect women from being treated as disposable in that time. And you look at it through that lens and you're like, you know what? God never said it was good.
No, and he didn't condone it by no means at all.
He did not condone it. It's treated as wrong on both sides, but there's a different consequence. There's a different sentence because the scenario is different. So these are laws put in place for different cases altogether. We cannot read them and say God condones rape because we're reading it through a modern lens. It would be wrong to do that. But a lot of times that's what we do.
Sure.
So even this topic here, people don't want anything to do with God because you look at that one verse and go, oh, look at how God views rape.
Sure.
Well, just 2 verses before, he didn't view it the same way at all.
No.
That guy got killed.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to read it in the whole context. God does not condone rape. And again, if this has ever happened to you, with all my heart, I am so sorry. It should have never happened. But there's that idea, and it's true. What is darkness?
The absence of light.
Absence of light. What is evil? The absence of God. It's the absence of good. It's not it, and that's what we have outside of God. People are going to do bad things, and bad things are going to happen to good people. It happens because sin is in this world. And instead of God just walking away, what did he do? He became part of the human experience. He got into this mess with us to bring us an answer and not just a diagnosis, but a cure for our sin. Remember, you are still valuable even if sin has happened to you. There's no reason to hold condemnation or guilt because something like this has happened to you. And I really, with all my heart, I hope this episode helps people that have been through this.
I hope so.
Because it's such a heavy, heavy topic. And I didn't want to talk about it today because it infuriates this. Human trafficking, there's certain topics that I just, man, if there was a button and I knew where it was, you know.
Somebody's sitting there doing that with her, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's probably good that God's God and not me, because it would look different out there. Thank God that He's so merciful and He's so patient, and He's never going to do wrong. Even though we don't interpret it right, doesn't mean He's wrong. So we've got to look at this. If you want to know the character of God, look at Jesus Christ, because if you've seen the Son, you've seen the Father. And that's all the way through. So understand the context of Scripture and understand the context of God. This is a heavy, heavy topic. Didn't like it. Glad we said it. Hopefully it'll help people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you still got questions, or if you still, please write to us. Let's talk about this. If there's something that's weighing heavy on your heart, if you just want to talk, you've got a friend here. We'll talk with you. We even over email, we'll talk with you. And if there's any other topic, please just let us know what it is, and let's try to make an episode. People are hurting. People are burnt on religion. And that is why we three guys sit at this table each week and do what we're doing here. So please reach out to us. You guys have anything to add to this horrible discussion here today?
Glad to see it go.
Yeah. But the problem is the issue still sits out there.
It does.
And it's going to continue for years and years and years. Just remember, your value isn't given by somebody else. It's given to you by God. So look through the context of Scripture. Look at the context of God for your value, not for circumstances or what people say about you. So hopefully that's a blessing to you, and we can leave on that note. We can just drop it right there. And again, reach out to us anytime. We'd love to have a conversation with you. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing. Word of mouth. That's the number one thing. Word of mouth.
Yeah.
So let us know what you think. Just write to us at questions@burntonreligion.com, and we'd love to make it a conversation. So thank you very much. If you guys have nothing to add, let's get out of here. All right. We'll see you guys next week.